Kal Kadosh, Boker Tov. We're going to speak today about Parashat Noach. And interestingly enough, the Parashat starts by saying, Noach ish tzaddik tamim haya bedorotav. So if we're going to ask ourselves, who is Noach? You're going to tell me, ish tzaddik, right? Et Elohim yikal et alech Noach. He's going in the path of God. He's a tzaddik. He's everything. Now, the truth is, it's true. We don't understand what it is, a Navi. Noach was a Navi. Imagine when we hear, whether it's Arizal HaKadosh, Bet Yosef, Maran, we hear names even of Rav Ovadia Yosef of this generation. Forget about 400 years ago or 500 years ago. We tremble. We think what? We understand what it was, Arizal HaKadosh, every single action with the kavanot, with everything, Maran, everything straightforward. You understand? So imagine what it is, a person that's a Navi, a person that's on such a high spiritual level. However, though, right, what happens? All of a sudden, we see something which is a little bit difficult because he leaves the Teva, right? So in this week's parasha, he's going to leave the Teva. And when he leaves the Teva, the ark of Noach, what happens? He plants things. What does he plant? It says in the Torah, Vayachel Noach ish adama vayita karem. Noach, ish ha'adama. At the beginning, it was written ish tzaddik. He's a tzaddik. Now it's written ish ha'adama. He's a man of the land. He was downgraded. Vayachel, says the Torah, Vayachel nitchalel naaseh chulin. He became degraded. He became disgraced. Like chulin is is like desecrated, right? We have something which is kodesh and chulin. Chulin is not consecrated. It's the exact opposite. So what's going on here? What happened all of a sudden? So now I would understand why he would plant a kerem, a vineyard. Imagine right now you go through not a virus and you have just a few thousands of people dying and that's it. A person comes and the entire world is destroyed. We're not talking about a few people passing away. We're not about a few thousand people, 100,000 people. Every single person. Not only humans, animals. Not only animals, the world. He came out to a world which was destroyed. It says, Gofrit v'melach serefach ol arza. Gofrit is sulfur. It burnt everything. It completely consumed everything that was around them. So obviously, if you're going to ask me, why are you going to plant wine, which is vineyard, you understand. You say, listen, wine is misameach, right? It's going to make you rejoice. It's going to make you happy, jolly. Listen, after seeing such a destruction, you have to. But not only that, at the end of the day, wine is very important. We have wine. There's not one wedding that you can't use wine. Brit Milah, we do it over a cup of wine. Birkat Hamazon, over a cup of wine. Kiddush. Wine is something chashuv. So therefore, if you're going to tell me that the wine is such a good thing, why all of a sudden, what happened? What was his mistake? What did he do that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took him from up here and downgraded him? Just put him down, as if to say. All of a sudden, Ish Sadiq, Ish Adama, Vayachel, Chulin. He became desecrated. Where did he go wrong? And the answer to this, I think, is very short and simple. And we'll bring proofs to it back and forth. And the answer is there was a mistake in priorities. What does that mean, there was a mistake in priorities? It's true. Wine is incredible. Wine is good. But 1 second. The first thing that he should have planted is wheat, food. Why? Because the wine is considered like a luxury. More than that, if he would have had the food and then he would have drunk, what happens? He wouldn't have gotten drunk that easily. Since he's drinking on an empty stomach, he's going to get drunk. And that's the entire story that happened over there.
But how long it took to grow because they say planted and say got drunk. Like had to wait, for the grapes to grow. No, how this works?
The truth is, it's actually an incredible question that you're asking. I remember somebody asking the question. I don't remember now the answer. I would have to look it up to see exactly how long did it take. It did sound that it took very quickly, right? It didn't sound like, he had to wait I don't know how many months. You understand? It did sound that it went very quick. But the first thing that he did was the wine. So the question that we ask is, why the wine?
And he doesn't talk about the korban, no? Doesn't talk that he did korban, because supposedly he took, and there's a midrash that says that he took on the kosher animals.
No, that's the Torah. The Torah says that. The Torah says that when he went out, he brought korbanot, and that korbanot made a reach nichuach, made a pleasant fragrance to Hashem, and that's why Hashem made the rainbow. That he's not going to destroy the world again.
Okay, so he did the korban.
Yeah, no, the korbanot are written there. About the question, how long does it take? That has to be already midrashim, but it's not written in the Torah.
But it doesn't say anywhere how many animals he took kosher, because he says 7. You don't know if it's 7 pairs or 7 actual animals.
No, it was 7. You're asking, was it 7?
Kosher animal, the kosher animal. Everything was a pair, and the kosher animals, it says 7.
Right.
But you don't know if it's 7 pairs, 14 animals, or it's 7 actual animals, 3 pairs and 1 extra.
But you're talking about each species.
Yes.
Yes. Each species, he took 7. Okay, so every single one from Zachar and Nekeva.
But okay. it was 7 pairs or 7 units?
If I remember correctly, I'm gonna
7 cows or 14 cows, in other words.
Well, let's look very quickly.
It was 7. I understood it was 1. I mean,
so the question that we ask ourselves now is, so what happened? So this actually parasha is teaching us a yesod, for example, an important fundamental that when a person wants to come and they would like to, for example, buy a house. So the first thing that they have to actually pay attention to, right, is where's the Bet Knesset? Where's the Bet Sefer? Where's the school? Where's all those things? When people are going to come and they're going to go out for vacation, right? So what they're going to have to find out is, what's the kashrut? Where's the Bet Knesset? Which means that before coming and start counting all the stars, right, on the hotel of how many stars it is, a person's going to come and get their priorities right. What does it mean their priorities right? Their priorities right means that they have to actually understand what are their priorities. This they learned from Noach. Noach was only downgraded because of that. Because since he didn't put his priorities straight, so then all of a sudden what happened was he fell from the Ish Tzaddik to the Ish Adamah. Now the Talmud Yado says that we actually learned this also from Avraham Avinu, which in essence what we're trying to say is, tell me what your priorities are and I'll tell you who you are. Okay, that's the yesod of the shiur. Tell me what are your priorities and I'm going to tell you who you are. So it says, Avraham Avinu, we're going to see a little bit later on. It says, "Vayomer Avraham elav do zekan beto masho bechol shelo, sina yadecha tachat yedechi." So imagine right now it says Avraham Avinu comes and he tells his servant, right, zekan beto masho bechol shelo, somebody that was, in overpowering, that he was in charge of everything that he had, and then he comes and he makes him swear. What's he going to swear? He's going to take a good wife, right? He's not going to take from the Canaanim. He's going to take a wife for Yitzchak Avinu. Now, one second. This is not the first time that we find Eliezer Eved Avraham, right? This is way later on. So why all of a sudden are we now coming and telling you, by the way, who's Eliezer Eved Avraham? He's Zekam Beto, right? He's the elders of his house. Moshel Bechol Shelo. He rules everything that he has. Why all of a sudden now? Why isn't it that already from the beginning, the first time that we see Eliezer, when he's running, after Sodom, with the kings, and he's going to, tell me everything. Why are we waiting until now to open up our eyes and say, by the way, who's Eliezer? And the answer is again, Sefer Bereshit is Sefer HaEmunah. It's a book of Emunah. It comes to teach us Musar and Derech Eretz. Every single story comes to teach us something else. And therefore, think about it, that you could have a person that we know that, listen, a person lives in this world, but it's only for 70, 80, 90, 100 years. But then they come to the real world. This is just makom ha'ma'avar. This is just a place of passing by. So what happened is that he understood that when a person is going to come, everything to do with physicality, he came and he actually gave it to Eliezer Eved Avraham. All of a sudden, it's coming to something spiritual. And when it's something spiritual, he doesn't trust the servant anymore. He comes and he tells him, this could be Zekan Beto, could be the elders that Moshel Bechol Shelo, he's got all his properties. He's got everything. Imagine the guy, he's got everything that you have. He's your private assistant and he's got your codes. He's got your he's got everything. He can do everything and anything. He could sell your company if he really wanted to. And you actually come and you trust him and everything's in his hands. All of a sudden you want a shidduch for your child, which is something spiritual and not physical. And then what happens? All of a sudden what happens is that all of a sudden I don't trust him. Swear. I want you to come and to take a mitzvah, and I want you to swear that this is what's going to happen, that you're going to do this. And we think to ourselves when we say, wow, what's going on over here? But rather, Avraham Avinu was coming and trying to teach us a lesson. The Seder Adifuyot, right, which means the order of our priorities, actually is going to be according to the importance of what's happening. And the same thing happens with everything. Do you know there was a famous story, right? Many times this happens also with the restaurant, right? You go to a restaurant. So the people that are a little bit, they heard some rumor that the restaurant's kosher. So, there's a rumor it's kosher. I'm already going to go and I'm going to enjoy. Yeah, I remember once, Rav Galimidi told us it was a joke. He goes to me, they came and they called him up from the restaurant in the middle of the meal, and they asked him, is it a good restaurant? So Rav Galimidi told them, listen, what do you want me to tell you now? You're already in the middle of the meal. You already made a bracha on the meat. You're already there. What do you want me to tell me now? That what now, after you're already enjoying, you want to get like a ashkacha, like a gushpanka, like a seal, that what you're doing is correct? Call me before, and then I could tell you. But if you're already in the middle of the meal, well, now you're going to start asking me. So what's the purpose? And the truth is, he's 100% correct. Why? Because a person has a little bit more yirat shamayim, he's going to check beforehand. Other people will come. I remember there was an avrech. He came to Miami. He goes to me, I wanted to find out if a restaurant was kosher. Right? He goes in, kosher? Yeah. He went, he asked for the mashkiach. The mashkiach wasn't there. That's already strike one. Yeah, a big X. He comes, he says, okay, I'm going to go look for the teudah, certificate. It was upside down on the wall. And this is not talking about a certificate which was written only in Hebrew, so maybe somebody didn't realize. It was written in English, and the certificate was upside down. You understand? And you think to yourself, Ribono Shel Olam. He left right away. He called me up, but finally he was able to get a hold of me. And I told him, yeah, don't rely on it. And he goes to me, Rabbi, but this is what happened. But it's true. But always find out who's the mashkiach, what is the mashkiach. You understand? Because according to the mashkiach, you're going to come, you're going to see the mashkiach, you're going to say, listen, I wouldn't trust him if, I wouldn't go to his house to eat. So now why am I going to trust him for this place? Why am I going to trust him for what I'm doing here? But that all depends on our priorities. It once happened with Rav Yisrael Salanter. He said, what happened is that all of a sudden, he went to a pundak. A pundak is to an inn. And the guy comes and he tells him, you should know the shochet, whatever it is, he got sick, the slaughterer. Do you know how to do shechita? He looked at him, he said, yeah, whatever. Yeah, okay, fine. Yes, no, okay. After a few minutes of Yisrael Salanter comes, right? And he tells him, listen, can you lend me a little bit of money? Can you lend me a few rubelim, whatever it is? The guy all of a sudden was like, but he quickly, no, but you should know. I don't really know you. I'm not really sure. You have to understand. So Yisrael Salanter turned to him and he told him like this. He said, listen, if you were able to rely upon my nice white beard, right, my long white beard, in order to do shechita for you, which so many lavin, so many averot and everything are dependent upon shechita and checking whether it was kosher, not kosher, everything that you want, and now you're not going to rely upon me for some rubles, for some money? That was Musar that just, boom, he took him out in 2 seconds. But why? Rav Yisrael Salanter was trying to teach him this message. Rav Yisrael Salanter was coming to teach him, what's going on? Where are you? Why is it that on something spiritual, it's so easy? For sure, I'm going to rely on the entire world. And then all of a sudden, something physical, I don't trust him. No. I'm going to lend him money. I'm going to look at all the reviews, ask people, interrogate this, back, forth, this, that. But all of a sudden, something spiritual, what? All guys are good. I once asked somebody that for a shidduch. I went and told him, did you look into it? All boys are good. Well, we're all Bnei Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. For sure. Until somebody wants to do a business with you, deal with you. And then you're going to look into every single, which side of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov does he come from? Does he come from the side of Ishmael? Or does he come from the kind of Yitzchak? Does he come from the Esav? Or does it? You're going to check everything. Every single thing to turn, you're going to turn to make sure that you're going to get a good business deal. Somebody straight, somebody that's not going to cheat on you. All of a sudden, something spiritual. Yeah, for sure. This guy said that he's a big rabbi. He's a big this. He's a big. I'm going to rely on closed eyes. Just close the eyes. Everything that you want. It's not the way it goes. Something spiritual, look into it. Make sure that it's there. Avraham Avinu was the biggest example of this. He trusted Eliezer with everything. Every single thing that he had, every penny that he owned, Eliezer was in charge. There was one thing that he wasn't in charge of. And Avraham Avinu, when he went and he put, what did he do? Swear. Don't ever dare go against what I'm going to tell you. And what was that? Spiritual things. Anything spiritual, there's nothing what to talk about. I don't know you, I don't trust you. I want to make sure that it's going to happen. You understand? This is just showing us what it is. It once happened that there was a rabbi that he went to somebody's house. And this person was very wealthy, very affluent, Shomer Torah Mitzvot. And what happened is that he comes and he tells the rabbi, listen, my oldest son, he's not interested in the religion. He's not there. I don't know what to do with him. So the rabbi, as usual, okay, let me see. And he wants to analyze. He wants to see what's going on, right? We're not Nevi'im. We don't know exactly he wants to see. So he's looking. What happens is that all of a sudden, right, he realizes that they're going to do Netilat Yadayim. So they're at the meal. They're going to do Netilat Yadayim one by one. Comes the youngest child, 5, 6, 6-year-old, whatever it is, comes running around. He does Netilat Yadayim, starts with the left hand instead of the right. He does one and a mess, right? Comes the rabbi and he says, Beni, my son, my child, come, I'm going to teach you how to do Netilat Yadayim. You do 3 on right hand, 3 on the left. You know, what do you do? The beracha. The father comes and he says, Adoni, you understand? Like, rabbi, listen, he's a young child. Leave him. What do you want? You understand? Like, let him live. Yeah? Take it easy on him. So the rabbi keeps quiet. Okay, fine, no problem. Okay. They're at the table, and this same child is jumping around, running around, jumping this, that, back, forth. All of a sudden, what happens? The father tells him off. Stop. Okay, fine. All of a sudden, the child comes, without realizing it, he got caught with a tablecloth. He went like that, he pulled it, and then everything fell. The father got up and started screaming and yelling. The rabbi stopped him and he said, Adoni, he's a young child. Let him live. Children run around. They jump. What do you want? The rabbi became white. The balabai became white. The rabbi told him, that's your answer to the question you asked me. Which means, tell me what you get upset about, and I'm going to tell you what is important to you. What are your priorities? If I had a Rav that he once was giving us shiurim, and he was teaching us about Hashkafa and about Shalom Bayit and other things, and he comes and he says like this, he says, you should know, I always train my children, right, how to do things properly. How do you do that? He says, when I go to Chutz La'aretz and I go to the diaspora and I come back, I never show them the incredible things that we did. Yeah, they took us up to some beautiful mountain. I never show it to them. He says, you know why? Because then in their minds, they think that America is Gan Eden. America is, as if to say, that's what it is. That's what they think. So what happens? I only tell them the problems. We got stuck in the airport. The luggages came late. We almost missed the flight. This, that. So that way in their minds, they don't think that that's Gan Eden. The opposite that we want. We want them to think that what Gan Eden is, Bemet is what is Gan Eden. What happens though? I tell them that they should help out. So he said, purposely when they come and they help out, it happens. Children will come. They'll drop a plate. They'll drop a salad. We'll never get upset about it. Never. Why? They're helping out. If they're helping out, you're going to get upset. You think they're going to do it again? I once remember one of the Balabatim, he told me, Rabbi, I heard the best secret for Shalom Bayit. He said, what's that? He said, very, very simple. He said, the first time my wife ever asked me to do the dishes, I broke 3 different dishes. He said, what happened? She never asked me again. That's it. She never asked me again. That was the best in the you know?
That's brilliant.
That's brilliant, no? Listen, Jimmy, you could pay me afterwards for the good advice.
Yeah, I'm writing down the check right now.
Okay, very good. Yeah. So what happens is that what? Do you think now? So what happens? The wife gets all upset. She's never going to ask him again. He's the happiest guy alive. But the same thing happened to your children. If you're going to come and scream at your child if they helped you, it's true they made a mess. It's true that they did whatever you want. You think they're going to do it again? Obviously not. So then why are you getting upset? You're shooting yourself in the leg without even realizing it. But therefore what? All of a sudden they come home and they got an F, right, on a test. Oh, they're going to hear about it now until the end of the year. So what do they come and they say? They say to my father, the test is important. Everything else, not important. They know it. Children are radars. Children know how to come and to pick a fight within 2 seconds. They know if I'm going to do this, I've had it. I'll go until there. They test you. What's more important? It's incumbent upon us to understand. We have to show them what's the most important in our lives. Is the most important spiritual things? They didn't wake up to Shachrit. They didn't pray properly. They didn't do that. Or is it that no, the most important things are what? And the truth is, how do we see this also? Let's make a test. The test that we're going to test ourselves is a very simple exam. You know what the test is going to be? The exam is going to be a very simple exam. Let's take the last 3 times we got angry. Why do we get angry? Think about it. Just remember, the last 3 times we got angry. Was it because we got angry because we missed a shiur, right? We came late, right? And therefore we were upset. Why? Because we wanted to be on time. We wanted to learn. And just what can we do? We were honest, first major, but we were upset about it. We missed it. Because we said a tefillah without kavanah, because we just threw the tefillah and we were upset because you know what? Chaval, I missed out on opportunity. What makes us angry? Or was it because some nonsense that happened? So then that's a test. Because again, as we already said before, not only tell me what your priorities are, and I'm going to tell you who you are, tell me what makes you upset, and I'm going to tell you who you are. Tell me what makes you upset, and you already know who the person is. And the children, they're the first ones that they understand this, right? They realize this. And that's why Chachamim come and they say, right, B'derech Tzachut, they say that was the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash. The destruction of the Bet HaMikdash, it says, Echriv Bait Rishon an shelo birchu b'Torah tchila. They didn't make a beracha on the Torah at the beginning. What does that mean? When they used to make blessings to people, the first thing that they would make blessings on is Osher va'osher, Chaim Tovim. At the end, by the way, spiritual growth, which means that I'm going to come, the first thing that I'm going to bless you with, everything physical. After everything physical, what am I going to bless you with? Torah. No. The Torah has to be first. The Torah has to be the first priority. The Torah has to be everything there. You understand? Because again, you have to remember that everything that a person has, it's there. There was once a story, I remember this actually happened with Rav Elchanan Wasserman. Rav Elchanan Wasserman, right? He used to go collecting money for his yeshiva, Hashem Yikom Damo. This was the biggest student of the Chavetz Chaim. Okay? And he perished in the Holocaust. So what happened is that he went to collect money by a very wealthy person. And it was all muddy outside and it was raining. It was, the snow, the this. So he went and he knocked, right? And then he said to himself, I'm not going to go through the front door. He's got very expensive, carpets and tapestries and all this. I don't want to make a mess. So what did he do? Yeah, he went by the side door and he knocked on the side door. Yeah, and he knocks on the side door and they open up. So one of the daughters open up and then she comes and she says, oh, very good. Okay, so she's going to call the father. And all of a sudden the father is saying, what are you talking about? I didn't hear anybody at the door. No, the daughter said, no, he came through the side door. He said, what? He said, no, tell him to come to the front door. Okay, fine. So she goes back and she tells the rabbi, listen, he goes, no, I don't want to, I don't want to come and dirty the. She comes, she tells the father, he doesn't want. He comes back and he tells Rav Elchanan Wasserman, he says, Elchanan, please do me a favor. Don't ruin my daughters. Rav Elchanan was looking like, what are you talking about? Like what? He said, until now, I've always shown that the most important thing in this world is kavod Torah, the respect that you give to the Torah. He says, do you think right now I care about my carpets? He says, what the rabbi is showing ultimately is that the carpets is more important than the kavod Torah. Please do me a favor, go out, go through the front door, and make sure you dirty my carpets when you come inside. He did it. He actually understood what it was, the greatness of it. Because again, when you're going to come and you're going to show the importance, what are your priorities? You see it. How many times does it happen? What are your priorities? What are you going to miss first? No. I can't miss the English studies, but I can miss the Hebrew studies, right? No, right now I've got the Hebrew studies, Gemara, the Chumash, that we could miss. But I can't miss the English studies. General studies is prohibited. You understand? You get points, you get this, you get that. One second, if it was so important that you had to miss it, so you would also miss that. And you said you would miss everything. But the problem is where are our priorities? Where are we going? And therefore, I think it's so important for ourselves to understand. Esha Torah, they have many times these 1-minute videos. And in one of their 1-minute videos, you could look it up. It's an incredible video. It had to do with the jar of life. Yeah, look it up. You go to ish.com, you look at jar, right? What is it? A 1-minute video, the jar of life. And there basically, it's a very famous concept that what's going to happen is that imagine right now, you're going to come and you put rocks. When you put rocks, afterwards, you're going to put, the sand, and you're going to put the smaller things. You keep on putting them in. However, though, they said, let's go the other way around. Let's take out the rocks, and instead of filling in the gaps with the sand and everything else, and then, you continue going, you're going to start the other way around. You're first going to put the sand, and then at the end, you're going to put the rocks. What's going to happen? It won't fit. It's not going to be there. Our mission in life is to understand what is the most important. The most important that we're going to put in our jar in life is the Torah and the mitzvot. I'm still going to put the sand in there. I'm going to put there, but it fits in between the cracks. It fits in between everything else. I'm going to put the water. I'm going to put everything, but it always fits that way. If I'm going to start the other way around and I'm going to put my priorities on the not so important things, I leave out the most important things that I'm not able to put inside the jar. And therefore the jar of life is actually empty. And another important yisod, which I think is very, very important, is that many times we live with contradictions. Everyone says, what was the message of Yosef? Yosef HaTzadik comes and he sees the brothers. And after revealing himself to the brothers, he comes and he says, How Davichai? Is my father still alive? He asked that question already 3 or 4 times beforehand. Every single time the brothers came, he asked, is your father alive? All of a sudden comes Yosef. And by the way, I'm Yosef, but I just asked you 20 minutes ago, is your father still alive? I'm going to ask you again, is your father alive? But now he says, it's not your father. Now he says, it's my father. How Davichai? Because until now, he was always playing the viceroy of Egypt. So until now, it was always, is your father alive? Now all of a sudden it becomes my father. All of a sudden, become numb. They can't speak. Cheresh, they can't talk. They're like this. They're glued. They cannot move. What happened? What did he say already? And they saw the concept behind it is that what did they just say? They came to Yosef with a ta'ana. They came with a claim. They said, listen, Viceroy, if we're going to come and take Binyamin and we're going to take him away from our father is going to die. He won't be able to survive. He won't be able to live. So please let Binyamin go so we could go back to our father. Yosef said, are you kidding me? Are you actually telling me that you were worried about your father's health and well-being? And that's what you're telling me now? Ani Yosef. I am Yosef. How old of Yichai? Is my father still alive? Which means you're going to tell me now that all of a sudden everything's different? What changed? You did the exact same thing to me. You took and you sold me. Is my father still alive? So if he's still alive, the same would happen now. And he was showing them, do not live a hypocritical life. Do not live in such a form that you're living with contradictions. From one point of view, yes, I'm showing that this is the most important thing in my life. But the other point of view, I'm showing that it's not the most important thing in my life. The message of this week's parasha is Noach was an ish tzaddik. And we can never speak about Noach because he was obviously on the highest levels of everything that you want. He was at Elohim italech Noach, he was going in the path of Noach. But there was one mistake that he made, which cost him a lot. And that mistake was, he didn't put the priorities straight. Because of not putting the priorities in the right order, he went from Ish Tzaddik to Ish Adamah. He was downgraded. And not just by a little bit. Look at all the cause that happened. Look at the story that happened with his own children because he got drunk. Look afterwards what happened with Canaan, the slaves, everything. The entire story, right? Unrolling in front of our eyes because of this mistake of the priorities. And therefore, our mission is in life is, first of all, tell me what your priorities are, and I'm going to tell you who you are. Second of all, tell me what makes you upset, and I'm going to tell you who you are. Because what makes you upset, that shows what your priorities and what are your most important values in life. And number three, we have to be very careful not to live with contradictions. Because sometimes I could come and I could tell my son and I could show him that it's so important tefillah b'tzibur, and it's so important this, but all of a sudden I could come on the other side and actually live with a contradiction, show that it's not that important. That all of a sudden when it's nice for me, maybe I'm not going to do that. Or when it's easier, I could find something else. And that's why it's so important. Tefillah b'tzibur, whether it's in tefillah in a bet knesset, kavanah in the tefillah, berachot the way that we say it, Shabbat, spiritual matters, right? When a child comes and they get a bad mark on Chumash, I make a point of it. Why couldn't you do better? Math, I'm not going to care as much. True, I want them to have the best of the best. I want them to be knowledgeable. I want them to have everything they want. People want their children to get degrees, everything. But why is it that when it comes to the math, that's when the screaming starts and everything, the firecrackers, but all of a sudden it could be the math, it could be Chumash, it could be Halacha, Historia, it could be anything. And big deal, try better next time. So say the same thing. Show the importance. And that's what a child understands. And children, they learn their parents. You could have a 2-year-old and he'll understand that. He'll understand that if he's going to take a candy, right, or he's going to insult the father, he's going to do something, ooh, but he could do anything else. He could turn on the light on Shabbat and big deal. There's no problem. I'm allowed to turn on lights on Shabbat. But teach them, train them. Even at the youngest of ages, a child will understand exactly what is right and what is wrong. Depends on what makes us angry. He sees our responses, and that's how he's going to see who we are. Be'ezrat Hashem, I just hope that we could actually internalize this message, because this is, I think, one of the most important messages that we have for Parashat Noach about setting our priorities straight, Be'ezrat Hashem.